They came at you like brick walls on wheels, flat-faced, aggressive, unstoppable. No hood stretching out in front, no gentle slope to ease the visual impact. Just cab, windshield, and pure intimidation rolling down the highway at 70 tons. These were Cabover trucks, and for 3 decades they dominated American highways and terrorized movie screens. Hollywood didn't choose these machines by accident. That flat front wasn't just functional, it was cinematic gold. Whether chasing down heroes in Terminator 2, hauling robot fighters in real steel, or serving as the literal vehicle of evil in Jeepers Creepers, Cabovers brought an aggressive presence that conventional long-nosed trucks simply couldn't match. They were perfect villains, perfect heroes, and perfect symbols of an era when trucking meant freedom, rebellion, and raw American power. But why did these trucks exist in the first place? The answer lies in federal regulations, engineering compromise, and the relentless pursuit of maximizing cargo space. The Cabover engine design wasn't about looking tough. That was just a bonus. It was about physics, profit, and the American way of doing more with less. Let's fire up those diesels and dive into the flat-faced machines that ruled cinema. Jan Michael Vincent stars as Carol Joe Hummer, a decorated Air Force veteran returning from Vietnam with dreams of independence. Not office work, not a factory job. He wants to be his own boss hauling freight across America's highways. He sinks everything into one truck, a 1974 Ford WT9000 Cabover that he names Blue Mule. The Ford WT9000 represented Ford's serious entry into heavy-duty trucking. The tilting cab design was state-of-the-art for 1974, allowing the entire cab to hydraulically tilt forward 90 degrees for engine access, critical for roadside repairs and maintenance. Under that cab sat a 350 NTC Cummins turbo diesel engine, a legendary power plant delivering serious torque and the reliability needed for cross-country hauling. The custom blue and white paint job made Blue Mule instantly recognizable. Bright blue cab with white accents and matching trailer, rolling billboard of independence and pride. This wasn't just transportation. This was Carol Joe's identity, his business, and his ticket to the American dream. The story gets dark fast. Carol Joe discovers the ugly truth behind independent trucking: corruption, forced illegal cargo, company manipulation, and a system rigged against the little guy. He's pressured to haul stolen goods, threatened when he refuses, and systematically pushed toward financial ruin by a corrupt trucking company that wants him desperate enough to play their game. Carol Joe refuses to break. The finale delivers one of cinema's most satisfying acts of rebellion. Carol Joe aims Blue Mule at the Glass House truck stop, symbol of the corrupt system exploiting independent truckers, and crashes straight through their massive sign, destroying it in a shower of glass, metal, and righteous fury. It's not just vandalism. It's a declaration of war against a rigged system. White Line Fever resonated deeply with actual truckers. The film allegedly drew from real events in the trucking industry, capturing the genuine struggles of independent operators fighting against monopolistic practices and corruption. It influenced trucker culture for years, reinforcing the image of truckers as modern cowboys, independent, tough, and willing to fight for what's right. The Blue Mule became a symbol, not just a truck, but the embodiment of one man's refusal to compromise his integrity for profit. That 1974 Ford WT9000 Cabover represented everything the independent trucker fought for: freedom, honesty, and the right to make an honest living without bending the knee to corruption. 2 years before White Line Fever, a made-for-TV movie delivered one of the smartest trucker plots ever filmed. Hijack stars David Jansen and Keenan Wynn as seasoned truckers hired for what seems like a straightforward job: transport super important cargo from Los Angeles to Houston for $6,000. The catch? Nobody tells them what they're hauling. The truck is a white Freightliner WFT 7564 Cabover, representing Freightliner's dominant position in the Cabover market. The WFT, White Freightliner Tilt Cab series had been introduced in 1954, and by the early 1970s had become the gold standard for over-the-road cabovers. The tilting cab design provided excellent access to the engine, and Freightliner's reputation for durability made their trucks the preferred choice for long-haul operations. From the moment they leave Los Angeles, everything goes wrong. Gunmen attack on desert highways. Roadblocks appear where none should exist. A helicopter assault turns the desert into a war zone. These aren't random hijackers. This is a coordinated military-style operation targeting their specific truck. David Jansen delivers a masterclass in portraying the grizzled trucker archetype: competent, unflappable under pressure, and resourceful enough to outmaneuver professional criminals. The film was shot entirely in the desert Southwest, showcasing both the truck's endurance and the vast hostile landscape that becomes as much an antagonist as the hijackers themselves. The truckers fight through every attack, protecting their mysterious cargo with increasing desperation. The trailer becomes Fort Knox on wheels, and they're determined to deliver it, no matter the cost. The tension builds relentlessly. What could possibly be worth this level of assault? The twist ending is brilliant. They finally reach Houston, open the trailer, and find it completely filled with sand. Nothing but sand. The entire haul, every attack, every risk, all for a decoy. The real cargo had been shipped the night before in an identical trailer on a different route, while every criminal organization in the Southwest focused their resources on attacking the obvious target. Hijack understood something fundamental about cabovers. They looked important. That aggressive flat front and substantial presence made them natural targets, perfect for a deception operation. The white Freightliner WFT's solid professional appearance sold the illusion completely. This looked like a truck carrying something valuable, because valuable cargo traveled in trucks exactly like this. The film demonstrated that sometimes the truck itself is the star, even when the cargo is literally worthless. Greg Evigan as B.J. McKay, cruising American highways in a stunning red and white Kenworth K100 Aerodyne Cabover with his chimpanzee sidekick bear-riding shotgun. For 3 seasons on NBC, this image defined what mainstream America thought trucking could be: freedom, adventure, and fun. The Kenworth K100 Aerodyne wasn't just any cabover. It represented the pinnacle of 1970s truck design. Introduced in 1976, the Aerodyne featured a revolutionary raised roof sleeper that provided unprecedented interior space for long-haul drivers. Kenworth's engineers focused on aerodynamic improvements that reduced wind resistance and improved fuel economy, critical during an era of high fuel prices and national speed limits. The show premiered during the absolute peak of CB radio culture. Citizens Band radio had exploded into mainstream consciousness, and suddenly every kid in America wanted to be a trucker with a cool handle and a big rig. BJ and the Bear capitalized perfectly on this cultural moment, making the cabover aspirational rather than purely functional. 2 identical trucks were built for the show to handle the demanding filming schedule. Television production meant constant use, frequent stunts, and the need for a backup when one truck required maintenance or repair. These weren't modified stunt vehicles. They were functioning Kenworth K100s capable of actual highway operation. One of the original trucks from the show was found abandoned in a Georgia field in 2007, weathered but recognizable. The trucking community rallied, and the truck was eventually restored to running condition, a testament to Kenworth's engineering quality. That a television truck could sit neglected for years and still be brought back to operational status speaks volumes about the durability of 1970s cabover construction. The show made cabovers accessible. Before BJ and the Bear, most Americans associated big rigs with gritty truck stops and exhausted drivers. This show transformed the cabover into a symbol of possibility. Maybe you too could quit your boring job, buy a truck, and find adventure on America's highways. The theme song became iconic. The adventures ranged from comedic to action-packed, and Bear the Chimp provided comic relief that kept the show family-friendly. But underneath the entertainment, every episode featured that beautiful red and white Kenworth K100 Aerodyne, making the cabover cool for an entire generation of Americans who would never actually drive a truck. BJ and the Bear proved that cabovers didn't have to be villainous or aggressive. In the right paint scheme with the right story, they could represent everything Americans wanted to believe about freedom and the open road. 1 month before Convoy hit theaters, another trucker film arrived with less fanfare but plenty of action. Highballin' starred Peter Fonda and Jerry Reed as independent truckers fighting back against hijackers and corrupt trucking bosses attempting to monopolize the industry. The truck is a 1975 white Freightliner WFT cabover, continuing Freightliner's dominance in trucker cinema. Shot entirely in Ontario, Canada, despite being set in the American trucking industry, the film brought a distinctly Canadian aesthetic to the trucker genre. More wilderness, more isolation, and uniquely challenging winter conditions rarely seen in American trucker films. Jerry Reed provided the theme song, continuing his successful run following Smokey and the Bandit. Reed understood trucker culture from the inside, and his musical contributions added authenticity that pure actors couldn't match. His character brought both comic relief and genuine trucking knowledge to the film. The plot centers on independent truckers battling King Carroll's monopolistic operation. Carroll wants to control all freight in the region, using intimidation, hijacking, and violence to force independent operators out of business. Fonda and Reed represent the last holdouts, refusing to sell out or give in. Highballin' earned its place in stunt history by featuring the first flaming cannon roll stunt, performed by Gary Davis, who also served as Evel Knievel's stunt double. The stunt involved a truck rolling while on fire, creating spectacular visuals that pushed the boundaries of what audiences expected from trucker action films. The film also marked an early role for Michael Ironside, who would later become famous for playing intense, often villainous characters. His presence added menace to the corrupt trucking company's operations. What set Highballin' apart was its winter action sequences. Snow and ice provided natural obstacles that American desert trucker films couldn't match. Watching that white Freightliner WFT navigate treacherous Canadian winter roads added authenticity. This was what real northern trucking looked like, not the endless sunshine of California highways. The film mixed action with genuine trucker culture, showing truck stops, maintenance routines, and the economic pressures facing independent operators. The Cabover became a symbol of resistance, small, maneuverable, and tough enough to survive both hijackers and Canadian winter. Highballin' never achieved the cultural penetration of Convoy or Smokey and the Bandit, but it delivered solid trucker action with real stunts and a Cabover that earned every scar. The T-1000 needed a vehicle that matched its relentless, unstoppable nature. James Cameron chose a 1984 Freightliner FLA 9664 Wrecker, a cab-over-engine tow truck that became one of cinema's most memorable villain vehicles. The Freightliner FLA series represented the last evolution of classic cab-over design, before the market shifted decisively toward conventional trucks. Introduced in the early 1980s, the FLA featured improved aerodynamics, better driver ergonomics, and the refinement of decades of cab-over engineering. As a wrecker configuration, the truck combined the Cabover's aggressive appearance with the industrial brutality of heavy towing equipment. The legendary LA River Canal chase sequence pushed practical stunt work to its absolute limits. Robert Patrick as the T-1000 commandeers the wrecker and pursues John Connor's motorcycle through concrete channels never designed for 20-ton vehicles. The truck drops 20 to 30 feet from a freeway overpass into the canal, a real practical stunt that destroyed multiple trucks during filming. The mirror image trick became legendary in stunt work. To film shots of the T-1000 driving while leaning out the window and firing a weapon, the production team hid the real driver under the hood, dressed Robert Patrick in a reversed uniform, filmed the sequence, then flipped the footage in post-production. Industrial Light and Magic added digital corrections to maintain realism, creating the illusion of Patrick actually controlling the massive truck during high-speed chase sequences. The truck survives incredible abuse throughout the chase. Jumps that would destroy normal vehicles, crashes into concrete barriers, constant high-speed maneuvering through tight spaces. The Freightliner keeps pursuing, keeps attacking, perfectly matching the T-1000's liquid metal persistence. The flip scene delivered one of the film's most spectacular practical stunts. The wrecker hits an obstacle at speed and rolls like a surfboard, showering sparks across the concrete canal. Stunt drivers nearly died during the first attempt when the truck's momentum exceeded calculations. The fact they got the shot and lived to tell about it demonstrates the insane commitment to practical effects that made Terminator 2 a landmark film. The combination of real trucks, real speed, and real drops created genuine hazards that no amount of safety equipment could completely mitigate. Why did cabovers work so perfectly for the T-1000? That flat face created an unstoppable appearance. No gentle curve, no aerodynamic softness, just vertical metal coming at you like a mechanical predator. The Cabover's aggressive design matched the T-1000's nature perfectly, efficient, brutal, and completely without mercy. Multiple Freightliner FLA wreckers were destroyed during filming, but their sacrifice created some of the most memorable action sequences in cinema history. The Cabover didn't just transport the villain, it became an extension of the Terminator itself. Before we had a monster, we had a truck. The opening sequence of Jeepers Creepers works because that ancient battered Cabover feels as dangerous as any creature. The 1941 Chevrolet heavy-duty COE delivery truck isn't just a vehicle, it's a character, a weapon, and a rolling nightmare. This represents one of the oldest cabovers in cinema history. Originally a 1.5-ton hay hauler with a 158-inch wheelbase, the truck started life as pure agricultural utility. The 216 cubic inch inline-6 Blue Flame 6 engine originally produced about 80 horsepower, adequate for 1941, but pathetic by modern standards. The 109-inch short wheelbase made it extremely maneuverable, perfect for farm work and rural deliveries. The weathering became an art form. The production team deliberately aged the truck with oil, grease, fake rust, carefully applied insects, and weathering techniques that made it look like it had been rotting in a barn for decades before being resurrected for sinister purposes. The patinated green finish suggested decades of sun exposure and neglect. The massive cowcatcher, technically a locomotive cattle guard, added to the agricultural horror aesthetic while serving as a practical battering ram. The custom cargo box was built specifically to match the cab's weathered appearance, creating visual unity between the original 1941 cab and the storage area where the creeper kept his victims. The license plate "Beaten-O" provided dark humor that audiences wouldn't fully appreciate until the creature's nature became clear. 3 trucks were built for the first film. 2 fully functional vehicles handled driving sequences, while a third served for detailed close-ups and stationary shots. Truck number 2 retained the original 216 6-cylinder engine and 4-speed manual transmission for authentic driving shots, complete with period-correct sounds and performance limitations. Truck number 3 received serious modifications for high-speed chase sequences. A modern Chevy V8 and automatic transmission replaced the antiquated drivetrain, allegedly making the decrepit-looking truck capable of exceeding 100 miles per hour. Some sources speculate a 383 Chevy crate motor with supercharger, though this remains unconfirmed. The point wasn't authenticity. It was creating a practical movie truck that could perform stunts while looking 60 years old. Jeepers Creepers 3 revealed the truck's full arsenal. Bulletproof armor hidden beneath the rusted exterior, deadly booby traps integrated throughout the cargo area, spikes that extend from the truck bed to shred pursuers, and a harpoon that shoots from the tailpipe. The truck stops being transportation and becomes a mobile death trap, extension of the creeper's predatory nature. The original hero truck is reportedly owned by a Maryland collector, preserved as a piece of horror cinema history. Its iconic status transformed a forgotten 1941 agricultural Cabover into one of horror's most recognizable vehicles. What makes the creeper truck work is its authenticity. This isn't a pristine show truck modified for cinema. It looks like something you'd find rotting behind a barn, barely functional, held together by rust and malice. The Cabover design's inherent aggression combines with decades of apparent decay to create something genuinely unsettling. In Jeepers Creepers, the truck is the villain as much as the creature itself. That flat-faced 1941 Chevrolet COE proved that Cabovers could be horror icons just as effectively as they'd been action heroes. These weren't just trucks, they were characters, weapons, homes, and symbols. From Jan Michael Vincent's Blue Mule fighting corruption to the T-1000's relentless Freightliner wrecker, from B.J. McKay's aspirational Kenworth to the creeper's nightmare Chevrolet, Cabovers served every role cinema demanded. The perfect storm created their dominance. Technology mature enough to be reliable, regulations that made them necessary, culture that romanticized trucking, and cinema discovering their dramatic potential. These factors aligned for roughly 2 decades, creating the golden age of both Cabover trucking and Cabover cinema. Why did Cabovers work so perfectly on screen? The aggressive flat-face design communicated power and menace instantly. The practical benefits, compact dimensions, distinctive silhouette, camera-friendly angles, made them cinematographer favorites. The cultural timing positioned them as symbols of independence and rebellion during an era when those values resonated deeply with audiences. The 1970s through early 1990s represented peak Cabover era in both trucking and film. During this window, Cabovers were current, common, and cool. They appeared in action films, TV shows, horror movies, and science fiction because they represented contemporary trucking reality while offering visual drama that conventional trucks couldn't match. From the Blue Mule's righteous destruction of the glasshouse sign to the creeper truck's predatory stalking, diverse roles emerged from the same basic design. The Cabover could be heroic or villainous, aspirational or terrifying, depending entirely on context, paint scheme, and cinematography. This versatility made them endlessly useful for filmmakers exploring different genres and themes. Modern appreciation grows as Cabovers become rarer. What once was common is now collectible. Trucks that working drivers complained about have become automotive art, preserved in museums, private collections, and restoration shops. The Cabover's place in automotive and cinema history is secure. These machines shaped how multiple generations visualized American trucking.